Hey everybody, welcome to our final summer craft. This week we're going to make friendship bracelets. Look at this. Now, for the youngins, you won't remember this, but back at the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, at least where I grew up, we went through a whole thing where you would make these for all your best buds. Well, I was 11 or 12 at the time. My older sister, 14 or 15, she was very, very good at this. She knew how to crochet. She knew how to do this. It was amazing, and I was a little jealous, but at the same time, I was a child, so I didn't want to be anything like my sister, right? So now I'm 45, and I just now learned how to make these bracelets. And you'll see, it's not perfect, but you know what? It doesn't have to be. When you come in, you're going to have the instruction sheets. And then you will also we'll have our big thing of embroidery floss. You can pick 4 or 5 embroidery flosses. Pick your colors. These don't look so much in the camera, but trust me, these are sherbet colors. So I've got raspberry and lemon and lime and orange. Those are my sherbet colors to make this, and it kind of looks like Skittles, which is actually kind of cracking me up a little bit here too. Once you pick your colors, get home, you'll have your instructions. You can sit down and watch the rest of this video and then get started. There are also tutorial videos and handwritten instructions on how to do this on the library's Facebook page. So if you have any questions, I would definitely recommend looking on YouTube or going to our Pinterest page and looking at the different tutorials we have tagged there, okay? So we're going to start here in a moment where we're going to measure out our thread, and I'll talk you through all that, and then we'll get started. All right, talk to you in a few. Okay, so after you choose your colors, and I've decided I want to make mine sherbet colors, which they're not turning up. You can't see very well. This is actually green. That's okay. You're going to cut about 3 feet off of this. I cut a little bit too much, and I'm just going to live with it. So I cut 1 piece, and then I put the ends of the next string together, measured out, cut them so they're all approximately the same length. If I show you the ends here, you're going to see it's actually pretty close, okay? It's not perfect, but it's not the worst thing we've ever done. Okay, I'm going to take all my strings together in one big bundle, and I'm going to find the approximate center. Now, by cutting our strings extra long, we're actually giving ourselves more than enough to work with, so there will be extra at the end that we can use to tie everything off. I forgot my little example guy, but I cut the strings too short, and then I didn't have room. So I'm going to make a regular knot here. Now, if you watch some of the videos that I've bookmarked on Pinterest, there are some that have these really elaborate, like twisty woven ends that are all super fancy, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not ready for that. Again, I am 45 years old and just now learning how to make these things. You know, everybody else was making them in the late 80s, early 90s. Of course, I was stubborn and didn't want to be like my sister, and now I'm just like, man, I wish I'd been nearly that cool, but I wasn't. So, once I have my little loopy loop, there we go. One thing you can do, if you have a safety pin, and this is what my sister used to do, she would safety pin it to her pants, and she would usually just do like a floop. One of the videos that I've tagged has a lady who does like a little bit, and then she'll pull the fabric that she's safety pinning to up here and put the pin just through the fabric, and then do the fabric again on this side. So the loop, instead of putting all the pressure on the strings, it's putting pressure on the fabric. The strings can pull against it, and they're less likely to become all wonky and weird. I don't have a safety pin. I have tape. So I'm going to tape my little loopy to the mat, okay? Now, the next thing, and I'm going to add tape as I go because it gets wiggly as you go. You'll see. I'm going to divide my colors up, and I'm going to decide which color I want to start with. Now, I'm sure you can imagine my intention was not to go in rainbow order, but my intention and reality often don't agree. So, yeah, I'm going to go in rainbow order, because so it is rainbow sherbet, okay? And yes, we always said sherbet because, well, that's what it sounded like. And we'd say, sure, Bert. Yeah, big Ernie jokes here. Okay, so once I've decided what order I want it to go in, I'm going to start on the left. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this is where I made my very first mistake and why for years and years and years I could not do this, okay? When you're tying your knots, my instinct is to cross right over left because I'm right hand dominant. That is not what we're going to do. You have two strings. One is going to be your knot tying string, and the other one is going to be the string onto which the knots are tied. Okay, so my orange string in this case isn't going to do a whole lot. My red string, however, is going to do all the work. So I want to cross it over the top of the orange. Let me readjust you a little bit here. Oops, there we go. And this is what, in all the videos and the tutorials, they talked about being a figure 4. So see, it makes a number 4. I'm going to pull this string, up through my loop. Now my orange string is not moving. I am tying a knot onto it. Okay, 4, pull my string up through my loop, and tighten it down. And I'm going to tighten it all the way to the knot. Okay, the next string up is going to be my yellow, and I'm going to do the same thing. So red on top of yellow, pull this guy up and tighten it down. Figure 4, up and tighten it down. If you did this, if you did the macrame with Miss Dominique, she said these are half hitch knots, and we're doing 2 half hitches per string. So hold your green tight. You're going to cross over on top, okay, and pull under and through. Over on top, pull under and through. And I'll tell you, this is actually one of those times when having a little more string than you might actually think you need is going to be helpful. Just trying to keep things in order, okay? Now, obviously, since I'm doing rainbow order, it's super easy for my brain. And I'm going to check back here at the beginning. Okay, well, we'll see how this looks. Once I get to the middle, and this is why we're only doing 4 to 5 threads a piece. Because if I had a whole bunch, this is going to end up being really wide. Ultimately, I don't want my first one that I'm learning on to be that wide, because that would take too long. And it would be very easy to get all these threads confused. So I've done knots on each of these 3 strings. My red is now in the middle. So now it's time to switch over to my right. Okay, so it's going to be red. Oh, my red wants to misbehave. And this can take a minute. Take your time. Make sure you get all your strings laid out correctly before you move forward. Okay? So for right now, I am carefully going to move these guys out of the way so that I can concentrate on these 4. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it a mirror image. So again, my orange is going to stay straight. My red is going to cross over, so I'm going to make, this is what they call the letter P. See, P. But the important thing is the string that is tying the knot, in this case the red one, is on top. Under and through. Okay. On top, under and through. Move my orange guy out of the way. Now it's time to do the yellow guy. Okay? So I make a reverse figure 4, pull my string up, and tighten, and do it again. Okay, so it's kind of like, in this case, the red is acting a little bit like a wing. It's creating a wing on a string. Okay, so I'm going to Now we're up to the green. Reverse figure 4 or the letter P. Pull up and through, tighten. Oops. Active string is on the outside, whatever the outside is for you. And once we get to the middle, suddenly I have these 2 red strings together. Well, what do? We're going to tie them together. And it doesn't matter because these are the middle. They're going to create the point on the chevron, okay? So it doesn't matter how you tie them. If you do top over bottom, bottom over top, it doesn't matter. The important thing is you do 2 together, okay? And I'm going to make sure all my strings are still in order. They are. I'm going to set my right ones aside. And I'm going to come back to the left. And I'm going to start with my orange. So now my orange is going to do all of its knot tying. So first it's going to tie around the yellow. Figure 4. Up and under and pull through. Okay. Figure 4, up and under, and pull through. Yellow's done. Now we move on to the green. Figure 4. So my green one stays pretty straight. Okay. And yes, sometimes it can feel like you have not quite enough hands. That's okay. Up and under, all the way through. As long as the working thread is the one doing all the knot tying, okay? That's the important part of this. It's always on top, okay? And it's always, you're creating that wing. So you're doing figure 4, my orange is on top, under, and through. And it'll take you a little while to get your hands coordinated. It's okay. Be patient. Go slow. Okay? Give yourself time. So again, your orange one is the one tying the knot that slides up the yellow. Then it's time for my green. Now that I've got all of them mixed up. Okay. Orange. Orange is on top. See, I don't have enough hands. Up and under. Hold the green and tighten that orange all the way up. If it tries to grab the other threads while I'm working before I do that final tug to tighten it, I'll just pull the other threads and make sure they're not incorporated. Okay? They want to be, they think they want to be involved in all the action, and they don't really. Or we don't want them to be. And once you get a couple rows of this done, you're going to be able to see that it's going to start making that pattern that we're looking for, that chevron pattern. Okay? And now I can tie my 2 oranges together. Oops. Get back over there. Get on your side. Okay, I'm going to show you one more round, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to tie it off, okay? And you can see the orange really is popping here with this nice chevron right here. That's perfect. That's what we want in our lives. And one thing they talked about in the video that I watched were forward knots and backward knots. And she explained it that a forward knot moves your string forward. So these that we do on the left are forward. These that we do on the right are backward because they're working one thread that way. Okay? That's kind of an abstract concept, I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to visualize until you're doing this. So again, my green string is gonna stay still. My yellow string goes over the top and up. And you will eventually get this. If you have too much string, you can always trim it down and work with something shorter. I would say work with a length you're comfortable with, and if you, oops, see, that's why you want a safety pin as opposed to tape, because sometimes tape is not your friend. You can't pull as hard against tape. That's why if you safety pin it to a pillow or to your pants or the arm of a chair, now I will say this is not something that you're necessarily going to want to do if you have cats. They're going to think this is the most fun thing ever. Look at all this string that you're just taunting them with. Yeah, I know. Okay. So those knots all moved from left to right, which with English is how we read. So that makes sense that they're a forward knot. Now I'm going to do my backward knot. So my yellow thread is going to move backward through my weaving. On top, up under the back. Hold my green and let it, yep. This is the only problem I have with working with long threads, is they don't necessarily want to not tangle themselves up because they're pain. Okay, so I did green. Now I'm going to do on the red. Okay, yellow, up through the bottom. Hold the red and let it slide up. So every time I do this half hitch, I'm tying it in such a way that the yellow wants to go that way. So that's why it's called a backward knot. And I'm assuming if you do a backward forward knot, is where you tie one from the left and one from the right. That's a lot more work than a lot more brain work than I'm willing to put into it. Okay. Okay, and tie. And then I'm down to just my yellow strings. Let me bring in a little closer so you can see that chevron. Okay, there you go. And I'm going to tie these two threads together. Like I said, this one we're just making a regular old square knot. Our whole point here is just to let them be friends and join those two different lines up. Okay. All right, so now we're down to our green. So I'm going to take these guys off to the side so they won't get all mixed up in what I'm trying to do. Pick up my red, cross the green over, pull it up under. I'm going to hold my red and tighten that knot up. See, that orange tried to go along, so all I did was reach down and tug it free. Oops, don't you do that. Okay. Green on top because it's my active thread. Pull it through, tighten, pull that orange out of the way. I don't want you involved yet. You're just slightly premature. Oh, get out of there. Okay, so we're done with red. We did our two half hitches or our two forward knots. Okay, green over orange. Pull it through. Green over orange. Pull it through. Get that orange out of the way. It wanted to be my friend. I didn't want it to be my friend. Green over yellow. Pull it through. But only one yellow. I only want to do it on one. Don't let that other yellow try to sneak in here. You're not on my team yet. There. Okay. And then we're going to do it on this side. So remember, each time, so this guy's going to sit over here. And I'm going to start with my red. So green over red, from right to left, and then pull it up and tighten. Do it again. Now, what I like about this is I can just loop it over my left index finger, grab onto the right, and it's already in the right position. I just need to remember to hold on to the red thread and slide the green up and not try to tie them in a knot. Hey, get away from there. See, sometimes they want to make you trouble. Make trouble for you. So green over orange. And pull up and tape that bad boy back down. Hold my orange straight. And tighten that knot. Okay. And we're down to our last, our green over yellow. Tie. Oops. It looks like I switched. I didn't. Okay. And tie that up. And now we're back to our original order. Tighten those guys up there a little bit. All right. Tie these two together. And we're just going to continue like that until we have made our bracelet as long as we want to make it. Okay? So I'm going to pause, I'm going to braid a little bit more, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to finish it off. But you can see, and I'm going to put a little shadow here so you can really see. So the red one doesn't look like my chevron turned out real well, but that orange one did, the yellow one did, the green one did. I might have to tighten it a little bit as I work, but it's okay. It'll all kind of equalize itself too. When you let it sit, and this is what I found yesterday, if I let it sit there and think about what it's done, it tends to behave a little bit better. So if I do 4 and then I take a small break, when I come back, they'll have all kind of equalized the pressure between them, and everything will look more like a traditional friendship bracelet. Okay, I will see you in a little bit, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, as you see, I have all this. I've got about probably 4 inches of this bracelet done. When you're all finished, you're going to take the last 4 strings. I'm going to put 2 of them together, and then we're just going to braid. Now this is where having what you're stuck to be heavy enough makes a big difference, because I started to braid this side, and right about here is where my mat moved. So that kind of messed up my string a little bit. Nobody's ever going to notice, so I'm not redoing it. Okay? Anybody that you have a bracelet to now is going to be so excited that you made them a bracelet that they're just going to be like, woohoo, and it's going to be a good day. So we're just going to braid. Oops. Nice tight little braid. Okay. Over and under. And so this part's only going to take a couple minutes. The other took about an hour, I think. Hour and a half. Once you get into what you're doing, it's a lot easier. It just takes, you got to practice. See, and even then, I'm not holding my braid right, so it's trying to do weird things, so I'm just going to power on through. Okay. See, and if it gets to the point you're just like, oh no, that's horrible, just unbraid it a little bit until you can get to a place that you're happy with it. See, I only have to undo a little bit. There we go. That's when it was starting to. This is definitely a fun thing to do if you're listening to a good book, or if you're watching a TV show or something. Okay. There we go. This is something that you can do and listen to whatever you're doing. So over and under, over and under. You do, if you just tie a knot which is a completely viable option. If you just tie a knot when you're done with the rest of your weaving, you're going to have a whole lot of string left over. Okay, this is going to allow us to create kind of a tie. We'll be able to use these two strings to tie a bow around the loop to keep our bracelet on. Now, back in the day, and I may have said this earlier, but back in the day, these bracelets were, you weren't ever supposed to take them off. So you would have bracelets from all of your friends, unless you were me and you didn't know how to make them, so you couldn't give them to your friends, but people would still give them to me sometimes, and those were generous people, yes, including my sister. She made me some too. But once you put it on, it was on supposedly for life, because you were going to be best friends forever. BFF. Okay. So here I'm going to go ahead and peel this up now. See, I had to, as I worked, I just put more and more tape, which allowed me to create enough resistance. It's a little wasteful on tape. Yes, a little bit. Do I care? No, because I ended up with a super cute bracelet with a little loopy guy. I would wait until the end after you've braided everything. See, one of my ties is a little short. I'm not going to worry about that either. Cut that off. When you put it on, you can just loop these two through here. Okay? And you'll be able to tie a little bow. And that is how you make your bracelet, your friendship bracelet. And again, anybody who sees it is going to be super excited. This is very retro, very flashback, very Visco girl. All right, let's bring you back up. Ooh. Everybody, have a great rest of your summer, and we will see you in the fall or in the winter with more crafts and more cool activities at the library. Thank you all so much. Have a great fall. Bye.